Ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't planning on doing this live stream, but I wanted to do a live stream addressing a topic that I discussed in October of 2021. I wrote in my Federalist article that things are going to get very bad in terms of the economy. There's going to be a stock market crash. I don't know if it's next month or 5 months from now, but there will be a stock market crash. It's going to be devastating. When I wrote my article in the Federalist last October, nobody was talking about a recession. They said inflation was simply temporary. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was temporary. And the only reason we had inflation is because, it's actually a good thing. They were saying inflation is a good thing. Don't you understand? Inflation means that there's a high demand for things and the economy is booming, just like MSNBC said today. You just type in, MSNBC economy booming. By the way, if you want to support this live stream, the super chat is right next to, it's right below the message, right below where you would write a message in the live chat. So to my super chat, thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for tuning in. JG, Eric, Mikey, Barbie, everybody here, Kristen, Patrick, hello. Everyone here, thank you so very, very much. I wasn't going to do this. I said, you know what? Last day of March, let's discuss something that we've been talking about for a long time. So here, MSNBC laments Biden has low approval rating despite booming economy. You have to understand, they're completely delusional. There's a certain type of voter that only cares about, for example, what Madison Cawthorn said, or they'll obsess over Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not a Marjorie Taylor Greene fan. But they'll obsess over Marjorie Taylor Greene. And they'll disregard high inflation, oil prices. JG! HA getting it done. Thank you, JG. Always an honor. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated, JG. Thank you. The Roz, hello. JG, thank you so very much. Getting it started right away. But let's talk about a couple of things, ladies and gentlemen. JG, thank you so much. Always an honor, a true honor. JG, thank you so much. To my super chat, thank you. 2-year Treasury yield, JG, tops 10-year rate. Okay, almost always, unless there's a recession, you always have the 10-year yield higher than a short-term 2-year yield. Why? Because you're putting your money in a treasury bond for 10 years, so you're going to get a higher yield. When the longer the duration of the bond, the higher yield generally you get. The problem, however, is that when investors are not confident about the long-term future of the American economy, then the 2-year becomes more attractive, has a higher yield than the 10-year. That's dangerous. That's not good. So here, the 2-year and 10-year Treasury yields inverted for the first time since 2019 on Thursday, sending a possible warning signal that a recession could be on the horizon. So here's the thing. And JG, thank you again. Here's something you don't want to see. The bond market phenomenon means the rate of the 2-year note is now higher than the 10-year note yield. That usually doesn't happen. Okay? That doesn't happen. We just got kicked off. Richard, thank you. Richard Brown, hello. Lord, it's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Okay, so, God. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very, very much. If you get kicked off, I mean, we had only 40 people on here. It was like an impromptu last second decision. I was like, you know what? Why not? It's the last day of the month. If you know anybody who might enjoy this discussion, share the link. But if you do get kicked off, everybody here, Richard, JG, Mikey, Tammy, everybody here, just log back on. Mikey, hello. Eric, hello. So the part of the yield curve is the most closely watched and typically given the most credence by investors that the economy could be heading for a downturn when it inverts. All right, the two-year and the 10-year spread was last in negative territory in 2019 before pandemic lockdown sent. Okay, so yeah, global economy. Okay, you didn't have to do all of that, and you tanked the economy yourselves. You deliberately tanked the economy. Now we have inflation skyrocketing, oil prices, energy prices soaring, food shortages that we have to watch out for. The Roz Rodriguez! Hello, and thank you for taking the time out for us. Of course, the Roz Rodriguez, thank you. Thank you so very much. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you so very much. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, the Roz Rodriguez and JG. Thank you as always, the Roz Rodriguez. Thank you. Richard Brown, thanks so much. The Roz, I hope all is well. I hope all is well. Thank you so very much. JG, thank you as always. Thanks to both of you. You're both wonderful. The part of the yield curve, okay, so the yield on the 10-year Treasury fell to 2.331%, while the yield on the 2-year Treasury was 2.337%. Now, that says the following, that people do not have, or investors do not have, they would rather, it's more attractive because inflation and possible food shortages and oil prices and geopolitical nightmares and all of these problems, they would rather, what they're saying is that they would rather invest in a short-term, a 2-year bond, a 2-year Treasury bond than a 10-year, because they don't trust, they don't believe that the future is bright for the U.S. economy or the country. So they're not going to go 10 years. That's basically what that is about. When the curve inverts, there's a better than a 2/3 chance of a recession at some point. Better than a 2/3 chance of a recession in the next year, and a greater than a 98% chance of a recession in the next 2 years. So there you go. Some data providers show the 210 spread technically inverted for a few seconds earlier Tuesday, but CNBC data did not confirm the inversion until now. So you have that. That's just basically showing you, that's just basically telling you, look, this is a huge problem. JG, the Roz Rodriguez, thank you again. Everybody here, thank you. That's just showing you, David, hello. That's just showing you that the economy is in a tailspin. That's one, marker that shows you that we're heading into a very, very bad situation. Now, do you think Democrats care? No, they don't care at all. They care about the whatever it is that Madison Cawthorn or Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert, whatever it is that they say is absolutely the end of the world, and everything else pales in comparison. So food shortages. And by the way, you notice that every country that tanked their economy has to deal with this now. We should add U.S. Okay? So, our beloved president says food shortages are going to be real. Okay? We're talking about food shortages 2 years after Democrats and media and wonderful, morally superior experts tanked the economy and then obsessed over you-know-what. And more people lost their lives from you-know-what in Biden's first year than Trump's last year. So spare me any of the, this is the thing. If you actually show them the numbers and the data, they won't be able to accept it. More people lost their lives under Biden. Fact. His first year in office. And then they say, well, there's no federal solution to it. After more people lost their lives under Biden, you've tanked the economy. But of course, they blamed Trump directly for it his last year in office. The biggest hypocrites on the planet, the absolute biggest hypocrites on the planet. Then you have inflation they say was temporary. Well, it was never temporary, and I was saying it was never temporary. It was only going to skyrocket because you tanked the economy and then you opened the economy back up, and you did so quickly. You did so, once, and I wrote about this in the Federalist, once you ended economic activity, you opened up a Pandora's box of problems. Hit subscribe, by the way, also to the Stock Market Crash channel. Starting tomorrow, I always say this, I will have at least 3 to 4 segments every day. In the Stock Market Crash channel, I'll probably have 5-minute segments instead of 10-minute segments. But every single day, I'll have segments on that channel. So definitely subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. And tell your friends we are at almost 196,000 subs. People, we will have an epic live stream. JG, The Roz, Eric, H526, Luke St. Martin. It's going to be amazing. Setlick 3 Gaming! Hello! Setlick 3 Gaming. Thank you so very, very much. Setlick 3, you have to be here when there's a 200,000 sub live stream. The Roz, JG, Eric, everybody here. Gretchen Jones, thank you so very much, Gretchen. So kind of you. When we have that 200,000 sub live stream, Gretchen, Setlick, The Roz, JG, Eric, Luke, everybody here. Everyone has to be. It's going to be fantastic. Now, this is just one gauge of inflation. But see, again, what's more important? Trump asking you-know-who for help or dirt on Hunter? Or Hunter accepting $3.5 million from the wife of the mayor of Moscow? Do they understand, when I was watching The View and Seth Meyers, and they use words like loathsome. It is actually loathsome to care more about Trump, which, by the way, I don't think they understand this. Hillary Clinton literally asked China to obtain Trump's tax returns with Rachel Maddow. That literally happened. But Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel and Bette Midler and everybody, they didn't care. Jimmy Kimmel, these people are like Democratic operatives. There is no such thing as Hollywood. It's like an extension of the Democratic Party that makes movies. There's no such thing as Hollywood. There used to be Hollywood, and that's it. It would be completely devoid of politics, generally. You here and there, fine, but you could enjoy Late Night with Johnny Carson or Arsenio Hall. And you wouldn't, it wouldn't be this, David Von Kettering, hello, sir. Thank you so much for all the kind words, David. But see, again, the indignation machine, the public relations indignation machine, doesn't care about inflation going to a 40-year high. They don't care about poverty. Poverty is increasing. When they say, ladies and gentlemen, JG and Eric and The Roz and Gretchen and Setlick 3 Gaming and everybody here, when they say that, Biden's policies helped lift millions of children from poverty. Okay, those hundreds of thousands of children who are in poverty now, they're back in poverty. If a one-time check or even a couple $100s a month lifts you from poverty, when inflation increases, you're now back in poverty. They don't get this. You don't have to be an economist. You see, the thing is, like, basic principles, if you understand basic logic, you don't even have to be an economist. Okay? If you have a family and you're making less than $30,000 a year, and you're suffering, and you have food and clothing, and you drive your kids to school, and you're doing all of these things, and prices go up, it doesn't matter how much money the government gives you. You're still going to go back into poverty when the inflation goes up. Jake, hello. So, I mean, they don't understand this basic, it's like a basic concept. So, when you have everything, like all of these prices going up, MSNBC says booming economy. Okay, so here, I mean, we've done this how many times on this channel? Ladies and gentlemen, the Roz Rodriguez, everybody here, we've done this a lot. We've done this often on this channel. Let's see, where is this thing? All right, hold on one second. Lord, okay, wait a second. So here's how they get away with a bunch of nonsense. So this is not true. Food costs have gone up above 10%. Where's that wonderful chart? They used to have a great, maybe they don't have this, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They used to have a great chart that shows, okay, where is that? Where's that chart? They used to have a great chart that you could look at. Let's see. Okay, so this is hilarious. They don't want you to they want to make it more difficult for you because it was like so easy to see everything. So here, hold on one second. Meat, fish, poultry. Okay, so all items. Wow, look at that. All items 8.66%. 8.6% in February. Oh, food at home. Sorry. Let's see. What's all items? This is the worst chart on the planet now. It used to be so easy. They used to have... Okay, wait. Where is it? Oh, my God. This is so annoying. All right, so anyway, we'll just look at this. Okay, so they say that all items less than 10%, that's nonsense. Food is what? Like a 7% increase, 6 to 7% increase. Energy... Now the computer froze. Yes. All right. We'll get there somehow. So energy costs have skyrocketed 25%. Okay, energy costs have skyrocketed 25%. Do you believe in the chat, everyone here? Do you believe JG, the Roz, everybody here, Sutlick 3, Gretchen, everyone here? Do you believe that food has only increased by 7.9%. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. You think food is only increased by 7.9%? Let's look right here. Energy 25%, but gas prices have increased 60%. But see, that's how they get away with everything. They're like, the chart is deceptive in that it doesn't really show you how expensive things have gone. Do you really think that food is only up 7.9%? Do you really think all items in aggregate are only up 7.9%? That number is going to be closer to 9%. If the producer price index is at 8%, then the inflation for all categories is going to be over 8%. Okay? Food is a lot more than 7.9%. All items less food and energy 6.4%. That's nonsense. David Von Kettering! Oh my God, Jake is stuck in a Virginia hospital. This is dedicated to Jake. Jake! God bless you. Get better. Get better, Jake. Thank you for watching. And David Von Kettering, thank you for letting us know. Jake, get better. If you're watching in the hospital, we love you. Get better. Thank you so very much. And we hope for a speedy, speedy recovery. Whatever it is that you're facing, we hope that you get better very, very soon. David, thank you. And Jake, we love you. So let's see. More chart packages. Let's see. Consumer Price Index. Okay. Choose another chart. Okay, let's look at inflation. Okay, so let's look at inflation during Trump's tenure. Trump! So when Trump, inflation was at 2.5% in March of 2.4% in March of, say, 2.7% in February of 2017. The Roz Rodriguez for Jake. Oh, thank you. In the VA hospital, we love you. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you. Jake Jensen, get better. Jake Jensen, we love you. Speedy, speedy recovery. So if you look, everybody here, Jake and everyone here, look at this chart. I guess this is a good chart. I don't even, the other one, the chart where you could see all the, you could see how expensive everybody is, everything was. JG, member for 6 months, the only place you can still get gas. And for $1.09 has a Taco Bell. Yes, JG. I have to say, you don't want to make a habit of it, but the Taco Bell has a couple of good things. The crunchy tacos. What is it? Taco Supreme. The Taco Supreme's pretty good. It's also the name of my fantasy football team. No, I'm joking. But the Taco Supreme is decent. Not saying I don't eat it all the time, but it's pretty good. Every once in a while. Let's see. So you looked all throughout Trump. Oh my God, Trump! He's hurting democracy. Trump. Look what Madison Cawthorn said. You have inflation going through the roof. Now, you haven't had this in the past 20 years. You could look at 2002. You didn't even have this inflation in June of 2008. I mean, this is bad. Really bad. This is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. David, isn't it? Yeah. This is horrible. And it's only going to get worse because you tanked the economy. You ended economic activity. I mean, only a society that had, like, when you have media telling you to do this because it's for your own good, and what they do is they fabricate, like, every consensus is fabricated. Any dissent, the whole point of dissent is that, you know what? The dissenting opinion might be accurate. So you have to debate and discuss. But that's why, like, you had this thing with, there's this show with Jon Stewart and Andrew Sullivan was on. And I disagree with Andrew Sullivan on Trump. But Andrew Sullivan, you know, he has a lot of good points on a lot of topics. He's very, very intelligent. He was friends with Christopher Hitchens. He's very eloquent and he's thoughtful. But, I mean, he becomes completely apoplectic when it comes to Trump. But this is like, I'll take a person who insults his political opponents who try to undermine him and frame him and set him up with a dossier and everything else they did against Trump that the Durham Probe Special Counsel is uncovering, indicting 3 people specifically for setting up and framing Trump. But, like, I'll take that if you have a great economy under Trump and a great foreign policy. Or you could say, it's without a shadow of a doubt, Trump's foreign policy and economy was much better. If you want to say it still wasn't great, that's up for debate. It was great. But it was completely unfair what they did to Andrew Sullivan on Jon Stewart's show. And Jon Stewart is a good person. He's done a lot for veterans, and I wrote an article in The Hill defending Jon Stewart. Let's see if you could still find it. Let's see if you can still find it here. No, can't find it. Let's see. Hold on. But anyway, this was like years back. But the point is, they were talking about supremacy and how systems, the systemic issues, still plague the country. There's no greater systemic injustice than inflation. These people are like, you are putting people back into poverty if they were out of poverty. Any government program that potentially might have lifted people out of poverty because of systemic injustices, they're now in poverty, back again. And you can't just say, well, that's it, not anyone's fault, it just happens. No, your decisions, the decisions that were the decisions advocated by Democrats, media, and the experts that they point to, that they champion and lionize to justify those decisions, thrust us into this situation. I mean, the issue we have, ladies and gentlemen, is the following. We have all of these people talking about systemic issues. And we have all of these people not only talking about systemic issues, but pontificating and judging and condemning and talking about, U.S. history and how we haven't moved on. It's like, okay, you know what? If you don't think we've moved on, okay, now can you at least address, if we haven't moved on and we have systemic injustices, how do you think inflation, what role do you think inflation and an upcoming recession and an imminent stock market crash that I predicted is going to hurt people? You're going to have layoffs, unfortunately. You're seeing that now. The Roz, thank you so much. Jake, we love you. Get better. Speedy recovery. Thank you, David, for letting everybody know. What role do you think? It's like when they go ahead, it's 7.9% inflation. Everything is more expensive. You have oil prices that, let's see, where are they now? Over $100, and they'll probably fluctuate from $100 to $130 and almost certainly break all-time highs, okay? Because we still have to deal with China and Taiwan. we still have to deal with China and Taiwan. China is going to eventually blockade or invade Taiwan. I mean, this is not the only geopolitical crisis. This is not the only, what we see right now is not the only geopolitical crisis. We're going to see, unfortunately, more issues. Goldman Sachs didn't even bring up the risk of a recession last year. Now they see a mild recession, but not for at least another year. But Elon Musk predicted that it's going to be either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So you're looking at, we haven't even fully experienced the economic impact of all our endless sanctions. We haven't even experienced the economic impact of endless sanctions. So here you have office buildings sit more than half empty. Why the next recession could spur more trouble. Okay? Global office demand could drop by 14% from peak because you've frightened the entire world. And I'm not going to get into, but the economic policies, the people are so proud of their policies. Oh, we have such good policies. Your policies are horrendous. Exactly, Brody, exactly. We have inflation that's skyrocketing. And it's not stopping. We are going to raise interest rates in a recession. We'll be raising interest rates in a recession. Does that make any sense? Does that make any sense? We're heading into a recession with skyrocketing inflation. And the Fed is going to raise interest rates, and they're going to eventually, I think they've almost completely stopped the quantitative easing. So you have geopolitical nightmares, oil prices going through the roof, energy costs, electricity, gas, coal, all of these costs are skyrocketing, and we're heading into a recession. But Trump was a horrible monster, and Madison Cawthorn, oh my God, how could he have said what he did? What he said? Oh Lord, what did he? Oh my God, it's loathsome. Here's the thing. With Madison Cawthorn, I think what he did was the following. He's telling people that if they ever try to basically intimidate him in any way, he has the goods. If they ever try to intimidate him or go after him or use the intelligence services to go after him or anything like that, he has the goods. Now, does he have the goods? Does he have the info on them? I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know. But it's interesting how I was watching Seth Meyers, so you don't have to, but I was watching Seth Meyers, and here is he's just a Democratic operative. He's not even really there's 10 Seth Meyers: Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, Trevor Noah. They're all the same person. They're the same person. And you see the comments section. And the comments section is oh my God, I've had to disown people. I've had to end friendships because they vote Republican. It's well, you do realize that you thought that Trump was in a Moscow hotel room doing something with bodily fluids. You realize that, right? That you thought that Trump was in a Moscow. That's okay? But what Madison Cawthorn said was too much? That's okay? But what this congressman said was just way too much? You had #wrong Trump when his brother passed away. And I talked about that today. You have all of these. You thought that he was installed by another country. Then you have the audacity to pontificate and give these sermons and continue to preach endlessly about democracy. You can't even have a functioning primary. You can't even have Democrats don't even have a functioning primary. And MSNBC says this is a booming economy. It's like, well, how is it a booming economy? Look at the rate of inflation. 8% year over year. And it's just unbelievable. You have poverty increasing. So you have this nonsense where what they do, it's a smokescreen. They will focus on these morally superior ideologies, or they'll focus on trying to deceive the entire country into thinking that this isn't an issue with the Democratic Party and media, an extension of the Democratic Party, but it is. You tanked your economy. It was a choice. The way they operate is, well, we couldn't do anything else. We just had to. Because of you know what. That you didn't have to. You silenced dissent. What they did was they silenced dissent in Trump's last year in office. And Biden's first, and even today, any dissent is silenced. They make the wrong decision always. They make the wrong decision, and then they simply say, "Well, there's nothing we could have done. There's just nothing we could have done." I mean, this is something that's a global problem. Yeah, it's a global problem because you have a whole bunch of countries who ended economic activity all at once. Now those same countries are sanctioning one of the largest energy producers on the planet. And they're beholden because all of those same countries tried to combat climate change immediately after ending their economies, which is basically the absolute worst thing you could ever do. It's the absolute worst thing you could ever do. We had record low Black and Latino unemployment under Trump. Record low. Wealth inequality was decreasing. Now it's increased. Poverty is increasing. You don't even need to check the latest numbers on poverty if you have inflation that's skyrocketing and energy costs that are skyrocketing and everything from food to clothing. Everything is more expensive. And then you have what? Real wages? Let's look at real wages really quickly. Lord. Real hourly wages decreased 2.6%. 2.6%. You got a pay decrease. You have a pay decrease. And then you have Wikipedia with the hilarious, well, besides rising benefit costs, proposed causes wage stagnation include decline in labor unions. What? This is from inflation. Are you kidding me? Real hourly wages decrease because of inflation. Because everything's more expensive. So even if your wages increase, it's more expensive. Living is more expensive. So your paycheck is buying you less, not more. 2.6% decrease. Inflation drives wages down, not up. Wall Street Journal. Real wages dropped 3%. So according to Wall Street Journal, real wages dropped 3%. From people who don't like Trump, I was like, what about real wages? These people are like, they're ideologues. They only care, they care more. They're more indignant. They're more indignant about what is said than actual, what's happening in life. You think, for example, Jimmy Kimmel or any of these people on Twitter, I don't have Twitter or Facebook. I'm telling you, it's only going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to get worse, people. I would say stay off of social media. First, last. Buy some rubles with this and let us know how it goes. First, last, thank you. I'd probably buy a pretty good amount with that. First, last, thank you. Roxanne, hello. Exactly, Roxanne, I agree. First, last, thank you so very much. And it's like inflation drives wages down, not up. The wage price spiral is okay. So, Labor Department on Friday, this is a while back, January 31st. A more accurate headline for coverage of labor's report would have been real wages dropped 3%. The recent story of wage increases come not long after the government announced prices increased 7%. So if your wages increase 4% and you have inflation at 8%, so your real wages decrease 4%, you could say. Everything's more expensive. But see, the Jon Stewart show with Andrew Sullivan, do you think that, because they went after Andrew Sullivan, do you think that Jon Stewart or his panelists want to factor in inflation within their sermons and their preaching about U.S. history and systemic injustices, which I agree still exist, and guess where they exist? Guess where they're most prevalent? Go to any major city in the country and go to any neighborhood or part of the city where people are suffering economically. You will almost always find they're run by Democrats. You will find cities run by Democrats with the greatest wealth inequality. You will find cities and states run by Democrats. We saw people lose their lives in Democratic-run states. Okay? And they don't put two and two together. Minnesota is a blue state. And we saw what happened 2 summers ago. But they don't ever, it's all about preaching, sermons, condemning, judging, pontificating, and it's all for one cause, to prop up the Democratic Party. They preside or they demand, if you want to talk about the words marginalized or I don't want to get into the specific theories. But when you have a political party that demands allegiance, loyalty, obedience from demographic groups, and they preside over the worst economic situation, they preside over areas of the country where people are suffering economically. And it's that panel, all Andrew Sullivan had to do is say, well, look, inflation is at 8%. People have lost 2.6%, 3%, 4% of their paycheck. Impoverished people suffering with, just feeding their families, or people struggling to feed their families are now in a worse situation than ever before. And this is while our beloved President Mashed Potato Brains is at the helm. He could have simply said, look at inflation. Look at poverty. Poverty is increasing. It's not decreasing. If you want to talk about systemic injustices and you don't address the horrendous economy we have, then you're just doing it to benefit the Democratic Party. What the Democrats do is the following. They'll use lofty ideals and, kind of like revisionist history, or they'll use a harsh critique of U.S. history to say that things are not right and they're not just. But then they're not going to address how the current economic situation hurts people who they claim are marginalized or are suffering from U.S. history. They would rather focus on U.S. history than address the horrible, terrible policies of Democrats that led to an imminent recession we have. We're going into a recession. We're not heading into an era of economic growth. If the 2-year is more attractive than the 10-year Treasury, we're not heading into like a positive time period now. This is like not what you want. So, Jon Stewart and those panelists, they kept focusing on skin color. Why? Because it's the perfect way to shield the Democratic Party from the policies that they impose that harm people. You hear this nonsense, the Republicans are dangerous with their policies. You have a horrible economy now. You're going to unfortunately get layoffs yet again. Eventually, with the stock market crash, it's going to happen, unfortunately. We're going into a recession. 2 quarters of negative economic growth. It's going to be more difficult to find work. It's going to be more difficult to feed your family. And in terms of geopolitics, we're not going to be able to address the next geopolitical crisis. We've already sanctioned, we've imposed as many sanctions as possible against one of the largest energy producers in the world. So you can't, if you even dare impose sanctions on China, we're pretty much done as an economy in the near term. So what on earth are we going to do if they invade or blockade Taiwan? There's nothing you could do. Just like there's nothing really you could do to help Ukraine now. I want them to win, or I want, them to be free again, but I love the people who are like, oh my God, it's so terrible. It's like, well, do you think maybe the U.S. put them in that situation? Well, how? Well, maybe the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Maybe Biden and Blinken and Sullivan could have perhaps negotiated a deal to circumvent or avert any invasion. Oh, no. They're a sovereign nation. They can do what they want to. It's like, well, then why did Biden force out a prosecutor? Oh, there you go again. It's like, if you it's so easy to refute every single absurd claim. They use words like loathsome, and they use words like crazy. These Republican voters are crazy. They vote for crazy people. Like, well, the people that you think are sane, their policies made life more expensive for everybody. Their policies. You think that Biden has jettisoned within the span of a month his grandiose climate change objectives. Now he's pumping strategic oil reserves. They're going right back to oil and gas and fossil fuels. They're doing everything they said they wouldn't. Okay, simply because they were not prepared. They didn't believe in. They simply did not believe in what they claimed to uphold, like the values they claimed to uphold, the ideals. They wanted to combat climate change immediately after they pushed to end economic activity. Then inflation skyrocketed. Then they kept pumping more and more money into the economy. The whole point is to see economic growth. You want your gross domestic product to increase. The GDP is going to decrease within the next year. 2 consecutive quarters. That's what a recession is. But it's like, I can't get my mind off that Jon Stewart thing with Andrew Sullivan. It's like, all Andrew Sullivan had to do is focus on the economic catastrophe we face. Recession, high gas prices, inflation, food shortages. And he could have simply said, okay, well, if you think that we have systemic injustices right now that we need to deal with as a society, and Stewart and his panelists, they're all Democrats. They're speaking from the vantage point that the Democratic Party is, the only political party that can save this country from our horrendous history. All Andrew Sullivan had to do is, okay, then give me your thoughts on how inflation, when you have Democrats in the executive and Congress and the legislative branch, you have a Democratic president, House, Senate, all of media, presiding over 8% inflation, possible food shortages, gas prices through the roof, oil prices continually going up. How do you think that factors into the issue of systemic injustices? You think that there are less poor people or more poor people? Do you think that people struggling to make ends meet are having a better time now that Orange Monster is out? So Trump's mean tweets. So Trump isn't tweeting. Is your life better? If you happen to stumble upon this segment, there's not a lot of people on this live stream now. But if there's a person who stumbles upon this and that person is a liberal Democrat and they just can't stand anything I'm saying, is your life better? Ask yourself if your life is better now, if the world is safer, because mean Trump isn't tweeting. So, it is pretty unbelievable how it really got me that we're like, oh, these crazy Republicans, they're loathsome, and how can you, and I had to end friendships. This is the comment section. They're like, oh yeah, wages are down. People are losing money on their paycheck because of Biden's policies. Wages are down. Inflation is skyrocketing. It's not going to end. By the way, like I said, you're entering into a recession. If you're entering into a recession, how on earth is the Fed going to increase interest rates? How does that work? How on earth does that work? Exactly, JG, exactly. But how on earth does it work if you are entering into a recession? So you have economic growth contracting. Your GDP is negative. But inflation is skyrocketing and going upwards. Do you continue to increase interest rates? Because that will put the brakes on the economy. But you can't do that because you're heading into a recession. So what do? Then if you're heading into recession, Democrats are going to say, well, you have to, give people more money. We're heading into a recession. So then what do? 1 out of every $5 has been created because Democrats and the apoplectic, hysterical, completely just over-the-top media said, oh, we have to. So we ended economic activity 2 years ago because all the smartest people in the room, the adults in the room, told us to do so. And every other country that did that is now going through inflation. and heading into a recession. But see, again, it's all about what Marjorie Taylor Greene says. Or, like, I'm not a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. In some ways, I think she's a political liability. But what she says isn't as important as, a terrible economy that Biden's presiding over because of his policies. It's a sleight of hand. They can point to social theories or political theories, and they can say, we have wronged, we have sinned as a country, while at the same time ignoring a terrible economy that makes life more difficult for the people they claim, or for the demographic groups or the voters they claim have suffered from our terrible history as a nation. It's a racket. It's a complete racket. So, and of course, inflation drives wages down. That's obvious. Let's see here. So you have, so this is interesting. The only way to have a prosperous economy is for workers to keep monetary policy stable, which means keeping the amount of money the government prints in line with the economy's needs. Only the Fed can do that. If we start to blame inflation and other issues on other issues like greedy workers, this is what, we're going to chase every solution except the real one. When workers cash their depreciated paychecks next Friday, it won't be their fault that they're falling behind. It'll be the Fed's. The Fed has become a political tool. So we didn't have to, when you went from when you go from a functioning economy in January of 2020, you had a functioning economy. And by the way, you go from a functioning economy to 20 million plus people. 20 million plus people out of work, like functioning economy, and then 20 million plus people out of work. You go from a functioning economy where Trump was ruining democracy. And then they're focused, I don't even want to get too into it. They have still not given up on the belief that he tried to overthrow democracy. Let's just say that. But throughout that summer, everything was fiery but peaceful. And I agree, the cause was an important cause. But that's it. All of the destruction throughout that summer with billions of dollars in property damage did not help the cause at all. You can't, there's nothing worth setting, buildings ablaze in flames, and we had curfews in every major city of the country, and it was mostly peaceful, fiery but peaceful. Then you fast forward to January, and it's, oh my God, Trump wanted to destroy democracy. But you had a whole summer where people were they were under curfews every night in major cities. So it's they don't get the duplicity. It's like they can't see it. There's people who can't see that what's taking place right now in Europe is a direct result, or you could say the alliance, the military alliance in Europe, is directly responsible for what's taking place in many ways. Now, if you want to say, well, that's not true at all, it's well, no, that was the issue. That's the main issue. You look at these situations, and it's you look at these situations, and it's you cause all of these problems with your policies and your sacred cows. And that's why when Trump came in, he's like, you know what? Have them pay more. We protect them anyway. Have them pay more. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, it's that wasn't it. He basically told Germany, Trump, he basically predicted exactly what was taking place. And they all laughed at him. They all laughed, and it's like you've never seen people who lacked such wisdom. Trump has wisdom. Maybe not with everything he says. There's some things that he's stated, from time to time that he shouldn't have said. That's true. But in terms of the economy and foreign policy, he has wisdom. These people completely lack wisdom. So they cause the problems that they claim their policies alleviate. You can't cause poverty and then write a check and say, look, we're helping you, and then actually make the situation worse with inflation. Like, if you were to ask a morally superior liberal Democrat, what is the biggest problem today? They'll say Madison Cawthorn or Trump. Herschel Ballard! Thanks for the clear information in these strange times. Herschel, thank you, sir. As always. Herschel Ballard, thank you to my super chat. Thank you. Herschel, thank you. Herschel Ballard, thank you so very, very much. No, David, not at all. Eric and Luke have been amazing moderators, but I was just speaking to my YouTube rep, and just because the algorithm and issues with the algorithm or whatever, it's just better, I think, to kind of just not have moderators. It has nothing to do with Eric and Luke, because they're fantastic. They're absolutely wonderful. They're absolutely awesome. They've been amazing moderators. Eric is fantastic and Luke is fantastic, but it's just basically like an algorithm issue. Herschel, thank you so much again. But gosh, what was I saying just now? Well, oh yeah, if you were to ask. If you were to ask any morally superior liberal Democrat, and you were to say, well, what is the worst? First, last, thank you again. JG. If you were to ask, well, gee, what is the worst thing? What is the most harmful thing to the country? They'll say Trump and January and hey, what if he steals 24? It's like, well, wait a second. You're worried about him stealing 24. You can't even have a functioning primary. You cheated Bernie Sanders. You cheat Bernie Sanders every time he runs. Then you're worried about him. You're worried about Trump cheating after you cheat Bernie Sanders. But they're not going to bring up inflation. You understand? Like, their whole thing, they can't come to terms. They literally just can't come to terms with, well, why is this happening under Biden? Why didn't it happen under Trump? They can't come to terms with that reality. Like, it's so embarrassing for them. It's so embarrassing for them. They're okay. They spent 5 years. They spent 5 years saying that Trump was destroying democracy and our country was in peril. That Trump was destroying democracy and he was a menace to decency and civilization, and he was going to undermine everything from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to, just society and, our sacred norms and trusted. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard is trusted institutions. Like, are you serious? You didn't trust the presidency when Trump was there. So trusted institutions, okay? Why is inflation through the roof today, but not when Trump was president? Why did Putin invade under Biden, but not when Trump was president? Why are we heading into a recession now, but not when Trump was president? So why are gas prices 50% more expensive than when Trump was president? So it's like, you can ask all of these questions. Why is crime through the roof now? You can ask all of these questions. And it's like, they don't really have an answer. Their answers are hilarious. Erica! What happened to all the rational, insane people I remember existing born 65? I think, Erica, a lot of people now, tribalism has engulfed the country. Tribalism has engulfed the country. And I think that's what the main issue is. Erica, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you. I can't thank you enough. I mean, we don't even have a lot of people here, and everyone's, on super chat. I do appreciate. Erica, I think it's tribalism. I think media is in overdrive. I think that you have one-party rule where not only do you have Democrats, but you have an extension of the Democratic Party in media. If you were born in 65, Erica, you remember Johnny Carson, Arsenio Hall. You remember the Oscars, where there weren't physical confrontations. That was horrible. And the more I think about that, the more I think it was just terrible what Will Smith did. My God almighty. Chris Rock did not deserve that. And Chris Rock, if it was me, I know most people would have defended himself. I mean, he did the right. Chris Rock very likely did the right thing, because if he should have, who knows? He did. Chris Rock was the most sane and rational and, honorable person that evening. He made the joke, and there was no malice behind it. It might have been in poor taste, but he didn't mean it to be intentionally negative. But you see, remember, Erica, when Billy Crystal or Steve Martin used to host the Oscars, and they were hilarious. It wasn't like a Democratic Party fundraiser. There weren't jokes. I mean, if there were jokes, it was about both political parties. If there were, and it wasn't like, you could see in the Oscars that they'll, go after Mitch McConnell, and then you see everyone's like, yeah. And it's like, there used to be a time where, this is the problem. And Erica, thank you so very much to my super chat. Thank you. The problem is the following. The problem is that we have a media, and we have social media, where algorithms are geared towards one political viewpoint, where one political viewpoint is elevated through movies, through the Academy Awards, through TV shows. And I keep going back to what I saw with Jon Stewart and Andrew Sullivan. It's like Jon Stewart is trying to make Andrew Sullivan, it basically insulted him. But Jon Stewart is oblivious to all the horrible things taking place economically while Democrats are in power. And he's speaking as a political operative. He could see, you probably say, no, I don't care about politics. No, you're speaking as a political operative. If you're talking about those issues, those systemic injustices, and you can't understand that the Democratic Party is presiding over these systemic injustices and making things worse for people, like inflation is hurting people, and the inflation is caused directly, is a direct product or consequence of Biden's policies. He came in wanting to combat climate change, which directly impacted the cost of energy. And if you don't believe me, there's 12 states suing him and oil and gas associations? Gretchen, you're right. Mikey, good night. So it's like you have a situation where you can't pontificate and preach and give these sermons when your political party is making it worse, making life more difficult for people. This is happening under Biden and not Trump for many reasons. Because A, it wouldn't have happened under Trump, because Trump would have focused on economic growth. He would have focused on geopolitical stability. He would have. I'm looking. I'm. I'm reading. I'm reading. I'm reading a couple. I'm reading a couple of the. Oh my god. Ay ay ay. Ay, ay, ay. So, anyway. Anyway, so I think we're gonna end this in a couple of minutes. But Erica and everybody here, I think that a very, very important element to all of this, what's taking place in American politics, like, for example, you have Eric Swalwell. Talk to, what is it? Like, he tweeted something about Madison Cawthorn. What did he tweet? What was it? And it's like, so this person, this Democratic congressman, has been accused of having a romantic relationship with a political operative, and he's tweeting raw story, which is like, he's trying to go after Madison Cawthorn. All Madison Cawthorn has to do is start tweeting all the articles about Swalwell and the political operative. My God. I don't think Eric Swalwell wants to pick a fight with Madison Cawthorn. Erica! I was at them from 18 until President Obama's first term, then left Cali in the party. I voted for President Obama twice. And I was a lifelong Dem. I too was a lifelong Democrat. So, I was a lifelong Democrat. Yeah, I understand. I understand exactly how you feel. Oh yes. I understand exactly how you feel. I'm looking at what David said. Yeah, David, exactly. You can't, it's interesting because what this is all about, Erica and everybody here, it's about political power. They don't really care, this is the thing. They're going to focus on what people say, which is irrelevant. It doesn't matter what Madison Cawthorn says, or it doesn't really matter what Marjorie Taylor Greene says. It doesn't really matter at all what President Trump says. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Exactly, JG. It doesn't matter. What matters is inflation. energy costs, recession, the economy, real wages down 3-4% if you take into account inflation. That's what matters. You can preach and give like all of these lofty sermons on systemic injustices, and if you ignore the fact that your political party caused inflation, poverty to increase, we're heading into a recession because of the policies advocated by the Democratic Party, specifically ending economic activity. I mean, it's not rocket science. Andrew Sullivan, even though I disagree with him about Trump, is a brilliant man. He's a brilliant man. Very eloquent, thoughtful, intelligent. He's like friends with Christopher Hitchens. I love Christopher Hitchens. Okay. All he had to do was bring up the economy. That is the most important topic. That is the basis for any systemic injustice. The basis for these systemic injustices, the basis is the economy, or economic injustice, or economic issues, or poverty. You're making it more difficult for people to put food on the table. If people suffered because U.S. history was not fair and unjust, the people who were suffering because of U.S. history are now struggling and suffering even more because inflation, because of an incoming recession, imminent recession, because of all the economic hardships they have to endure from Biden's policies. You don't end economic activity for 2 years or so and then immediately restart the economy and say, oh, we're going to address climate change. Well, you don't do that right after you've ended the economy. Artisan Shrew! Artisan Shrew, thank you. Found you a few days ago. Impressive voice and excellent news. Thank you. Join your Patreon. Thank you so very much. Bought your books. My God, thank you. Been binging on you ever since. Wow, thank you so much. Keep up the good work. P.S. Will Smith is an Instagram. Yeah, it was terrible what he did. The more I think about what Will Smith did, it's just terrible. And, Artisan, thank you so very much. Artisan, thank you so very much. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Very kind of you. Very kind of you for the kind words. What he did was not right. What he did was not right. It was wrong. It was wrong. It was so terrible. I love Chris Rock. I love Will Smith too. He's great. They're both big parts of, growing up in the 90s. I saw Chris Rock in college. Chris Rock, what I saw in college, colleges today, I mean, it's unbelievable because all the best comedy, music, it's like, for me, it was the 90s, early 2000s, or late 80s, or 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Artisan, thank you so very much. Very kind of you. But I agree with you that what he did was wrong. Absolutely. By the way, thank you for buying my books. It's very kind of you. Gretchen, I do. Gretchen, thank you. Gretchen, thank you so very much. I do, but not in a conventional way. Not in a conventional way. Thank you so very much, Gretchen. So kind of you. Here's how I prep. I think about what happened to Bernie Sanders. Gretchen, I have a well of trauma that I just, dive into, and it's when Bernie was cheated, and then everything that my lens is all through that. I'm joking, kind of. So that's how I prep. Basically, when Bernie Sanders was cheated, and they blamed everybody but themselves because they're the ones who cheated. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. You cheated me again. Elizabeth Warren. So I look at the world, the way I prep is I see everything through the Democratic Party being the epicenter of corruption at this point right now, whereas the Republican Party was the epicenter of corruption 20 years ago. And I'm able to like see, just like, if you have talk shows that talk about, lofty, sociological theories, and they ignore the economic catastrophe, geopolitical nightmares we're facing today because their political party is in charge. Well, there's a reason for that. So I kind of just have a viewpoint, the Bernie Sanders, the Bernie Sanders voter of 2016 who became a supporter of President Trump and a voter of President Trump in 2020. That is, I think, the most rational and sane viewpoint by far. Most people would say, what are you talking about? It's completely irrational. It's completely insane. Like, well, you believe that Trump was in a Moscow hotel room, so spare me any indignation about Madison Cawthorn. Gretchen, thank you so very much. Artisan, thank you so very much. Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know if you've read Breaking the Devil's Heart or Logic of Demons, but those are my two fantasy novels that I don't really talk much about, but I have like 50, it's well-reviewed, 50 wonderful reviews, close to 50. This was like years back. Newspapers also. You could see just a couple of them on hagoodman.com, the reviews for Logic of Demons and for you know what, Eric? One of these days I will. I have the ability to do so, actually, Eric. That's interesting. So yeah, Artisan, thank you so very much. But I also have the Butter top secret emails, Butter deleted emails, and debunking the Trump-Russia myth on Amazon. So they're all on Amazon. And you can get them also through my website. So kind of you. Thank you for being helping me on Patreon. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Artisan. And Gretchen, thank you. I do these like, who's seen the satire in the morning, ladies and gentlemen, that I do? And it's sometimes like I do these segments now where Trump is indicted because they desperately want him to be indicted. JG, thank you. Thank you, JG. Thank you. Erica, I got a quick question to ask you. You know what? I want to do it, but I say I'm not feeling it right now. Hold on. Erica Snowden, thank you so very much for your support. I just got a quick question to ask you. Thank you so much. That's my Columbo. It's the best I can do. It's the best I can do. Artisan, thank you so very much. Very kind of you. Erica's the best. Let's see. Can I do? Wait, did I do another impression? Is there an impression I've done after Columbo? My mind, I'm like losing it. There was another impression I did after Columbo. Well, I did the typical Democrat. But I've been doing that pertaining to Trump being indicted. I just think, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I was going to do a segment about the types of people I see in Southern California. And there's really like two types of people. David, thank you. The Roz, hello, thank you. Thank you, the Roz, as always. You see people who have moved on in life, and people who have moved on, and they want to, they want to start living life in the way they did before all this madness of 2 years. Cole, hello. John O'Brennan. John O'Brennan. Trump. John O'Brennan. I don't do evidence. I do intelligence. So you're not actually, you're lying then, right, Brennan? Just like you did when you committed perjury. I didn't commit perjury. I don't do truth. I do intelligence. Cole Wilson, hello. Hope all is well. Oh, there's Clapper. James Clapper is a hilarious one. Thank you, Cole. James Clapper, with with Brennan, John Brennan is not always on the talk shows, but you'll always find Clapper everywhere. I think the Hunter's laptop, we don't know if it's actually his, but it has all the hallmarks and makings, and it has all the markings, and it has all the accoutrements, so to speak, of disinformation from the Kremlin. There is no evidence at all that Hunter was without any clothes on, staring into a mirror with some kind of device to inhale illicit products. There's no evidence at all about that. And so we think that this was an attempt by our adversaries to highlight Democratic Party corruption and then get people to actually vote Republican because of the flawed notion that you would want to vote Republican once you were informed of the utter, despicable, disgusting, never-ending well of Democratic corruption. Don't you love when they're like, he asked Putin for help? Help about what? Something about $3.5 million from Moscow to Hunter. Who cares? Isn't that important? He asked Putin for help. He asked the Kremlin. Yes, JG. I have to buy like old flip phones and take a hammer to them. Don't you love, like, I saw The View. I guess, Gretchen, that's like kind of like how I prep. It's just like everything I see, it's like I saw The View, ladies of The View, and they're like, oh my God, between Madison Cawthorn and Trump, it's like, what's going on? It's like, well, you want to talk about inflation? You want to talk about the fact that, let's see, Ukraine was invaded while Biden was in office? You care about that? Like, they don't actually see, like, if Trump is talking about, check this out, this is important. Missy, hello. If Trump was talking about Hunter getting $3.5 million, now hear this, now check this out. We'll just continue for a couple more minutes. If Trump is talking about the president's son getting $3.5 million from the wife of the mayor of Moscow, you would think that in this political climate, if a Republican got $3.5 million from that person, you would think they would care. That's not the story. The story is that Trump had the audacity to ask you-know-who for help. Not the issue of Hunter. Not the issue of Hunter. And it's like, it's so absurd. It's so absurd. Like, so, and Madison Cawthorn is like, oh my God, how could he have said that? It's like, well, you spent 4 years saying that's with Stormy, and they were interviewing Stormy about the actual romantic, involvement, and everybody was like, they were okay with that, but God forbid, and then it's like, who has a picture of, oh, don't bring that up, don't bring it up, of in a blue dress, despicable criminal no longer on this planet. Like, well, why did he have that framed painting. They actually allow worse. Like, Biden's been accused by many people. Hunter has committed pay to play, obviously, within the emails. It's right there. If you had the reverse, my God, they would never allow that situation to take place. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been absolutely wonderful. Everybody here, it's been a last second thing. You've been absolutely wonderful. I will tell people when my next live stream will be, so we can all so you can just get ready. This was like an impromptu live stream. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Hit subscribe to this channel if you just, I don't even manage to watch this on the upload. Everybody here, Eric, David, everybody here, JG, everyone here, you've been all wonderful. To my Gretchen, Erica, the Roz Rodriguez, everyone here, Artisan, everybody here, thank you so very much. Herschel, everyone here, to my super chat, thank you. JG, everyone here, thanks so much. Check out tomorrow's first upload on H.A. Goodman, and I'll also start doing segments on the Stock Market Crash channel every single day, so tell your friends about that channel too. People, we are almost, God bless you, Brody, thank you. We are almost at, Aunt Jenny, hello. We are almost at Luke St. Martin, I hope all is well. We are almost at 196,000 subs, people. 196. We're almost at 200,000. Huge live stream for that. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.